Good afternoon. Okay, thank you. I'd like to call this April 19th, 2023 meeting of the Technical Transportation Committee to order. Our first item of business is the approval of minutes from the March 22nd meeting. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
A second.
It's been moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll proceed to call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. The minutes have been approved. Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is access permits to be presented to us by NDOT.
At our last meeting, Bill Smith had brought up 3 commercial driveway permits that were relatively new. The first is the Gothra Family Company's permit on State Road 38 west of Creasy Lane. It's an empty lot on the south side. The latest status update for that is that we have revised plans that were submitted to NDOT on April the 12th, 2023, and the revisions should be reviewed and returned within the next week. The second permit is a major commercial drive, Mon Brothers Holding. It's at US 52 and State Road 28. NDOT sent out comments on November the 15th, 2022. The designer is still working on revisions based on those comments and has not submitted any updates to NDOT. The third permit is at County Road 450 South, realignment, major road approach. NDOT did receive revised plans on April the 3rd. We're currently reviewing those plans and working on getting comments back to the consultant on that.
Thank you. So the next item is adoption of the 2024 through 28 TIP. Doug?
Good afternoon, everyone. It's kind of an exciting time where we are at the point reaching the end of developing this draft document. Again, it is the fiscal year 2024 to 2028 Transportation Improvement Program. The format, if you haven't seen it, a draft copy is available on the APC website, but it is basically the same as the previous TIP. A lot of information in it. Going back history-wise, the call for projects went out this past October, and in early December, we put together the list of not only local projects, but NDOT projects. Thank you for submitting them at that time. In January, we visited our funding allocation and allocated our federal funds for the 5 fiscal years. And then following that, we drafted the document and posted it on our website, submitted it to NDOT and Federal Highway for their review. In early March, we held the public meeting. We did have a few comments, but not many. Since then, we have been reviewing and making small changes in regards to the comments from Federal Highway and from NDOT. For example, Federal Highway, they would like or wanted to see additional information regarding the new federal funds, specifically Protect and carbon reduction, and how the projects applied to those 2 specific funding sources. So we actually went into a detailed explanation of the funding because they are new, and then how the projects address the goals and objectives of those funds. As for NDOT, we have been receiving and passing back and forth comments, and I think we are now down to just a few minor ones. We are going to try to take care of this fairly quickly and asked, instead of going back and forth in emails, actually have a phone conversation, imagine that, later this week, so we can get these all buttoned up by the end of the week. And basically, there's just one. In certain sections of the tip, they did not like some of the wording. Specifically, when we looked at projects that this community, we thought that were important, that were NDOT projects, we basically used illustrative projects or projects that we feel that are a priority, and they did not like the word project. So we reworded it to unmet need that's been identified. So we're going to flush that out hopefully by the end of this week and then move forward. The public participation will start basically the 1st of May. We'll go through and do all the posted notices throughout the community, both in English and in Spanish. We will be sending out notices on social media about the draft document. We will be sending out letters to various individuals, groups, and organizations, homeowners associations, for example, and roughly we send out over 100 of those. And we are shooting to present the draft document to the policy board at their May 18th meeting, assuming that this body recommends approval to that board. So any questions or comments? Thank you.
So we need a vote to approve.
Yes, we are asking for a recommendation of approval to the policy board.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Well, there are no questions. We'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Tip is approved. Next item on our agenda is APC progress report. The first is the MPO update. Tim's going to talk about Teal Road.
Yeah, so between this and the policy board meeting, we've kind of been working with NDOT to get some updates out to the community, just kind of regarding what the status of the Teal Road project is. And one of the questions that came up at a previous meeting was regarding, well, what's going to happen during the fair. So we got in touch with the project manager from NDOT, Jessica Miller, and I got an email from her that some of you may have seen this, but I'm just going to go ahead and read it so it's out there and part of the record. So Jessica says that she had a Teal Road progress call, specifically asking about work during the 9th and 18th, or work at 9th and 18th at that intersection during the fair. The contractors will not be working at that intersection during Fair Week. So they're going to phase it so that that intersection, or those intersections with Teal, are open. And Teal.
9th and Teal and 18th and Teal. Those
right,
two
yeah.
intersections.
Yes. Right. Yes. Okay, so any questions about that?
All right, thank you. The next item, permanent traffic count stations. Doug? And after that, the 18-month letting list.
Now, before I start with the permanent count stations, I'd like to pass along some news that we received recent. As you are aware, in the past, we have presented to this board the U.S. bicycle route, specifically U.S. Bike Route 37, that in essence runs through this community and connects Indianapolis to Chicago or Chicago to Indianapolis, however you want to look at it. Well, the good news is that the Indiana Department of Transportation has submitted the application to AASHTO. So there are only two more things NDOT needs to do, is that one, to hold their public information, go through their process, and then after that is done, actually have the commissioner sign off on that, which it appears that's moving forward. And then it's up to AASHTO for their review. So we actually are getting closer and closer to the finish line. So wanted to bring that good news to you before I get into this. So, kind of interesting, NDOT does have traffic counts, two now in this county, and then one on I-65 in White County. And, you know, we do continually keep track of those counts, so we'd just like to bring an update of what's been happening. The one count on I-65, and basically we took out everything that was 2020 and older. We do have 2018, 2019, 2020, and we can put those on to see if you want to see that, but we just took out that information, so we just have 21, 22, and 23. Fairly simple. If you look on I-65, you can definitely see when there's weather events, when there's holidays, especially Thanksgiving, and then when there's crash events, you know, when you see the dips or the increases. The green line is 2023 information. And if you look, it seems like it's still going at the same rate. A couple peaks in there, but still, you know, on average, we're seeing in the early months like January in the mid-30s to pinch above 40 to now at sometimes actually going up to 60,000 vehicles a day. So a lot of traffic still on the interstate. So basically, it looks like we are at or even a bit higher than pre-COVID. So, but it's still a lot of traffic on the interstate. We do have some information, and hopefully we'll have it at the next meeting. They do take a classification on these, so we're putting together a table that will show like 18-wheelers, cars, and trucks, so you can kind of get an idea of what changes have occurred over the years for those types of vehicles. Looking next, if we go to 231, you know, again, you can see, you know, the ups and downs, especially for winter events, but, you know, looking at the green information, it definitely looks like it is increasing, especially compared to the blue lines. Unfortunately, there were a good number of weeks when the actually traffic count was down. So that looks on target to be at the same or maybe a pinch higher than the past 2 years. And then finally on Sagamore Parkway, and this count is west of Paramount Drive, again, you can see when there were snow events or winter events and definitely some holidays. Unfortunately, again, in 2022, towards the end of the year, that counter stopped working for a pinch, but at this point, early in the year, you can definitely see the green lines. There are some dates that actually, you know, over 25,000 vehicles a day. And then if you looked here recently at the very end, basically early April, there was a count over 27,000 vehicles a day. So, you know, in looking at this, it appears that actual traffic on this point on Sagamore Parkway is increasing. So just wanted to kind of bring you this status report of, you know, traffic that's happening in the county at these 3 locations. Well, in White County, right, 65. So that's a report on that. Going on to the 18-month letting list, of course, project number 1, Yeager Road. The specific letting information is on the second page. If you remember, that was on the March 15th, 2023 letting. The engineer's estimate was at $9.63 million. The project was awarded to Atlas Excavating for $8.72 million. And there were 2 bids, and the contract completion date is May 30th of 2024. And just for a recap, the amount of federal funds that we have allocated to this project is $5.63 million, which is not your typical 80-20 match. There's more local funds that are going into this, unfortunately, but the project was let for construction and is moving ahead. Projects 2 and 3, back on the first page, US 52, one being auxiliary lanes and the other being scour protection. Looking at this was a this was last week. They were over the engineer's estimate for the auxiliary lanes. There were 2 bids, and they were both over the engineer's estimate. And then for the other one, there were 3 bids, and unfortunately, they were over the engineer's estimate as well. For May letting, we have several projects coming up, one on 28, a district-wide, and then various locations, traffic signal modernization. And as you can see, the letting date has changed. Actually, it moved up from a July letting to a May letting, which is typically unusual because if there's any change, it usually falls back. So this is the information at least shown on INDOT's website. Going down the list, you see the Project 10. That was not listed. That project has been bumped back. And then the project above that has also been bumped back, small structure replacement. And then looking down the list, you see Morehouse Road, project number 14 on the list now, the first project. And then we do have a change in I-65, the concrete pavement restoration at State Road 38 interchange. That jumped or was moved back from a July to a November letting. And then the one bridge replacement, that project was moved to fiscal year 2025. That's a bridge replacement over Weah Creek. On the next page, we do have 4 new projects, one on State Road 26 and McCarty Lane, a new traffic signal, and then on State Road 225, the one that I think at least those people in that area are looking for, the truss reconstruction or repair project. And then looking down the list, we have 2 on US 52. Both are thin deck overlays. So that's a summary of the 18-month letting list. Are there any comments or questions?
Okay, hearing none. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
So that brings us to the end of agenda items that we had. So we'd move on to ask, is there any other business to be brought to the committee? None? Do we have any citizen comments? There appears to be none. So I will entertain the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous. This meeting is adjourned.